Hello, I'm so happy I got a hold of you. Well, today you'll notice the lighting's different. I'm using my LED lights. Let me know if you like them. And we are taking a look at Hades for the Switch, a game that's kind of been out for a few years, though it's officially been released now and is up for Game of the Year this year, so I'm just saying that it came out this year. It's by Supergiant Games, a company I love. Am I gonna love this game? Let's find out.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. I'm Lucious T. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life. This is Retroactive.
Hades is truly the perfect game for me in a lot of ways. It is a cut and dry, escape the underworld, and gather power-ups along the way type of game. It's also a game steeped in Greek mythology, which is, as I've mentioned before, I love. Now, I also must admit, I am a big fan of Supergiant Games. Bastion is a game that should have been on my top 50 games of all time. Transistor is solid, and I have very fond feelings of Pyre the longer I get away from playing it. Now, I often complain a lot about modern games having too much customization and different ways of playing it. Well, here is a game that does all that right. You can choose one of 6 weapons, 5 of which must be unlocked by playing through the game. Now, each one of these weapons have preset attacks. Some will throw in a charge, etc., a dash this, a dash that, some are ranged, some are melee, but that is it. You know how to use each weapon within seconds of picking it up. Now, one of the random upgrades you get in the game during an escape attempt is Daedalus's hammer, which allows you to temporarily augment how your weapon attacks. For instance, the run where I finally beat the game was with the gun weapon, and it turned its mortar special shot into a rocket launcher. I used that and never looked back. Now, you can't choose to do this every time. You have to find a Daedalus hammer, and then you have to be lucky enough for one of the 3 options to be that selection. Now, you also get the option to empower how the weapon attacks certain foes, but once again, it's unlocked later and is purely window dressing, for you can simply choose to just increase the attack power across the board. And it's only 3 or 4 options too, so you don't get overburdened with it, and you can't do the same option for every weapon, meaning that no matter what, you are locked into a certain playstyle depending on which weapon you use. I like this. Similarly, you gain purple crystals that allow you to upgrade yourself, and these max out very quickly sometimes. And at a certain point, you gain the option to select a secondary option for this upgrade. And maybe it's just because I like this game, but these type of restrictions give me comfort in a game and allow for simple either-or options instead of 50 different possibilities. Now, I may not want either of the 2 options, but I need to choose one, otherwise I'm wasting an upgrade slot. It also helps that due to the nature of this game being so RNG based as far as your escape attempts go, that even with these sets of upgrades, things will always play out differently every attempt, and chasing certain abilities can prove fruitless. Hades follows in the vein of Rogue Legacy, where you gather reagents you can use to power up your character between attempts. This is how you use the purple crystals or the gems, the titan blood, the diamonds, etc. It adds on to this by layering story elements that if you've played a Supergiant game, you'll know what I mean. Hades includes the staples of the game, commenting on your actions, a narrator at times, and if you die to the Hydra boss, the NPCs in town will comment on that fact, and it'll have specific dialogue based on what you've done on previous runs. It also has a very colorful Bastion art style, and I'm pretty sure the Eurydice voice actress is the singer they use in all their games. It is. It's Ashley Barrett, and she's amazing in everything. Now, there is a very interesting dynamic with the game's main villain, Hades, who happens to be your father. I also love how they've made Cerberus the family dog and even let you pet him. That's a good doggo. Now, interacting with NPCs allows you to find out more about the story world, and if you give them honey, they will give you a keepsake that is another item you can use to give you a small buff for your attempts. But let's get to the actual game, the combat. Combat, simply put, is amazing. It's frenetic, fast-paced, always changing. Tartarus, Asmodel, Elysium, and the Temple of Styx are great locales, and any Greek myth geek, such as myself, is going to love how much love was put into implementing the mythology. Each chamber essentially is a room you must survive and are rewarded with a treasure. Now this treasure can be money, which you have to spend during an attempt because you don't get to keep it, life up, power crystals, gems, upgrades, weapon changes, or boons from one of 9 gods. These 9 gods that will help you are Zeus, Poseidon, Ares, Aphrodite, Demeter, Athena, Dionysus, Hermes, and Artemis. Strangely missing is Apollo, but hey, I haven't unlocked him yet. The Demeter was hidden until you almost get to the end, so maybe he's coming. Now each one offers boons to your special, your attack, your cast, and your dash. They also have other boons that are just damage upgrades, etc. Once you get the upgrade, that attack takes on the color of that god. Blue for Poseidon, pink for Aphrodite. Each has a different type of debuff they add as well. Poseidon adds a knockback, Dionysus adds a damage over time, Athena adds deflects to your movements, Aphrodite adds weak, Demeter adds a slow, and so on. And through the right combination of these traits, you can hopefully escape the underworld. Now herein lies Hades' greatest strength and its potential pitfalls with wider audiences. Not everyone will like the RNG nature of a run. At this point, a run for me is about an hour, and sometimes the gods are in your favor, and sometimes you have shit luck. You also choose between 2 or 3 options for your next chamber too, so you can unintentionally underpower yourself by going for too many health upgrades or going to Charon with no money to buy stuff. For me, I love seeing how different runs play out. Sometimes you will go further than you ever imagined with a crappy set of boons. That's how I ended up beating the game. And then other times, you will get the perfect setup and get thwacked by a boss out of nowhere. Eventually though, you will start to see patterns. Going to Charon late in a world will almost always lead to the boss of that zone. Now the exclamation mark will always bring you to the same hidden NPC in each zone. And the game does a good job of switching things up. The first boss in Tartarus is one of the Furies, and after you defeat her a handful of times, the game starts cycling in her 2 sisters that play completely different. Now the Hydra boss in Asphodel will change colors and have different movesets between attempts. Theseus and the Minotaur, the boss of Elysium, that's all I've found so far, and that combo is such BS that it may even be the hardest boss in the game. You can kind of cheese it though if you get Athena's deflect, but anyways. The gods also give you an option for an ultimate, which will build slowly over time the more you take damage unless you supplement it with boons that increase it, and I leaned heavily on Aphrodite's as it allows you to do a 2500 DPS bomb if you max it out. And that's what I used to take out Theseus, because 2 hits of that and he's done. Now you'll notice though that sometimes no matter what, even if you get 5 Aphrodite boons, she just never offers it. And at a certain point you'll just have to take one that's offered by one of the gods, because you should have an ultimate. And it's funny enough, I ended up beating the game with Zeus as my assist. Once you beat the game once though, it's very clear that you're going to have to do it multiple times. They even add a heat meter allowing you to make the escape attempt harder in various ways, but by doing so you gain more of the hard to get rewards by clearing it, like the diamonds and the titan blood, with the same weapon. Because each time you beat one of the bosses of each zone, you get one for the first time. So by increasing the heat meter, you can get more by doing it over and over. Now this killed a little bit of it for me. I'd rather just have the game end and then give you the option to continue, much like Rogue Legacy had the New Game Plus, but it's also because the game is so damn hard to beat. Either way, Hades is a damn good time, especially if you have played Supergiant's other games. This might very well be their masterpiece, and even though it was in early access in 2018 for PC, it was just released for the Switch back in September, and for me, this is my current game of the year. If I had to give it a rating, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Pick it up and play it. That's your homework.